In today's podcast episode, we are diving into our series all about messaging evolvement. And today is all about level number 1. So let's do this. Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Today is going to be all about level 1 of your messaging evolvement. So if you missed the last episode, we basically talked about how there are 6 levels of messaging evolvement. And after working with thousands of entrepreneurs and clients and deploying thousands of videos and scripts and all of that stuff, we started to break down what really needs to happen in order for people to see success with their messaging. And it's not as easy as just following a framework or pattern. And one of the reasons why I believe that our program gets such amazing results for people is because we don't focus just on here's a framework, here's a script, and here's an exercise, and then do the exercise and then follow this script. That is part of what we do, but we go beneath the surface because we started to realize there's a lot of mistakes that can happen. There's a lot of things that can be derailed. People also need to remember who they are. They need to have mastery over their craft. And when all of these elements and invisible elements are combined with frameworks and patterns and all of that stuff, then people see hyper growth within their messaging. And so what we started to realize is there's actually 6 levels or phases, if you will, that people will go through when they uncover their messaging. So if you're kind of on your messaging journey right now, you're going to be, I guarantee you're at one of these first 5 levels. Level 6 is when you have mastery over your craft. You're the number 1 person in your space. You're creating things that people have never heard of before. You have your own intellectual IP. But today, this episode is going to be about level number 1. So again, just to recap, there are 6 phases. Number 1 is the unheard entrepreneur. Number 2 is the seen entrepreneur. Number 3 is the heard entrepreneur. Number 4 is the traction entrepreneur. Number 5 is the in-demand entrepreneur. And then the final level is new generation mastery. You have obtained mastery. You are a new generation mastery entrepreneur. Okay, so we're going to talk about the unheard entrepreneur. I'm willing to bet that most of you are at the unheard entrepreneur level. The unheard entrepreneur level is generally making underneath $100,000 a year, possibly even $250,000 a year. But basically, you're just not getting eyeballs on you. Like, you know your content's really good. It's probably frustrating. Like, you want to climb to the top of a mountain and scream like, I can help you. You know that you can actually help people with their problems, but those people just don't seem to understand it. Like, no one seems to understand that you can actually help them. You're giving out your best information for free as if you're Costco, like, let me give a free sample and then people will buy. Sorry guys, that's not how sales work. People don't always reciprocate. They don't just say like, oh, you got this for free, now I'm gonna go buy. It's not how sales work. There's a lot of subconscious, invisible things going on. So you're posting content and you just know it's really good, but no one's paying attention to you. You're not getting the eyeballs on us. Remember, we need 3 things. We need eyeballs on us. We need to keep the eyeballs on us. We need to create demand while the eyeballs are on us, okay? So you're the unheard entrepreneur. You post content that you know can help people, but no one seems to want to watch it. You can't get eyeballs or attention on you, even though your content is super helpful. Remember, this is not about whether or not your content is good with good information. That's not what this is about. This is about creating stuff in a way that the audience subconsciously goes, this is good. And just by teaching, you're not doing that. Just by teaching, even though here's the thing, you know the content's good. The audience doesn't know that it's good, different, or unique yet. And you have never taken an approach to your content in the frame, the mindset frame of, or the lens of, how do I get my audience to know that this is good? Because clearly titling a video, how to lose 10 pounds, and having 20 other people with the same video title, that's not doing it. Like, that's not getting the audience to realize this is different and unique. So you probably haven't asked yourself, how do I name things, communicate, title, or create, and meet my audience where they're at and communicate it so they know it's different, they know it's better, you probably haven't taken that approach yet. Now, even if you're able to get someone to watch and you're at the new generation or the unheard entrepreneur level, even when they watch, they're definitely not staying, they're not commenting, they're not taking the next step with you. And if you are an unheard entrepreneur, you have likely gone 3 months or more without a significant increase in growth, followers, or sales. It's been 3 months, like maybe a little bit here or there, but there's nothing significant. There's no significant growth in sales. There's no significant growth in followers. There's no significant growth or engagement in anything. Again, this is probably one of the most frustrating levels to be at because you know you're like really showing up and you're ready to serve and you're giving away your best stuff, but nothing is happening. No one's resonating, no one's watching. Now, here's the reason why this happens is the unheard entrepreneur is creating content based on practices that have been the standard for the past 3 to 5 years without an adaptation to the increase of competitors, experts, and market saturation. Here's what I mean by this, is your content is focused on the standard practices that already exist and the expertise that already exists and has existed for at least 3 to 5 years, and you haven't adapted to anything new, mind-blowing, revolutionary, or different. So you're teaching the same things that have been around for 3 to 5 years or are being taught by the same people, like just multiple people. And that's fine and great and dandy, especially 10 years ago when there weren't a lot of competitors, but you haven't adapted to the influx of competitors and experts because the market is saturated now. And continuing to teach the same standard practices that have been around for 3 to 5 years is just going to cause you to blend in even more. Usually your focus has been on things like education, tutorials, and information style content. In fact, 70% or more of your content, I'm willing to bet, has been focused on tutorials, education, teaching your expertise. And if you have, you're likely at the unheard entrepreneur level. A secondary cause could be creating content based on what others tell you they want. Like you're creating content based off of survey results, what your audience, if you do have an audience, what they want. You're just kind of guessing at what content to do. You're actually doing content that's going to avoid haters. Like you're just so worried about that people are going to think about your content negatively that it literally impacts what you're creating. Or you're doing what you think your niche will want. You're like, okay, this is what my niche wants, this is what they're asking for. A lot of times people never know what they want or what they're asking. They never know what they want. So when you try to serve them what they want, everyone's just guessing. No one really knows. And we don't focus on survey results because then your audience controls your message. And if you have the wrong audience in the first place, then they're already going to keep giving you stuff that they want, which means you're going to continue attracting the wrong audience. We don't see Simon Sinek, we don't see Gary Vaynerchuk, we don't see Tony Robbins serving you to figure out what you want. They are creating a message that brings people in, that magnetizes the exact person they want. They're creating their message and they're putting it out there. Because all of that stuff leads to surface level marketing. It leads to surface level messaging. And what will happen is when you're very surface level, it means you're saying the same thing as everyone else. For example, if I was to say, just go get the know, like, and trust, okay, well, 10 experts all say go get the know, like, and trust. When I say things like be authentic, yeah, 20 other content experts have said be authentic. Everyone's saying the same thing, which means the audience out there perceives me as the same. So when you're the unheard entrepreneur and you're doing all the things that I mentioned, what happens is the audience perceives you as the same as everyone else. Even though you know you're different, you haven't done a good enough job with the titles or your content so that they perceive you as different. That's the name of the game. If we want eyeballs on us, which you haven't been able to do at this level, it's because the audience perceives you as exactly the same as everyone else, even though you know you're different. You haven't done a good enough job with your titling, with your targeting, or any of that stuff to get people to understand that you are different. So you're very generalizing your content, you're very generalizing your communication, and you're really just seen as another expert in a sea of experts because you're focusing on teaching your expertise. You haven't focused on being different, being polarizing, taking a stand, shifting your space, ending suffering. You're just trying to be smart. Like, here's all the stuff that I know. And hopefully if you see that I know a lot of stuff, you'll want to work with me or buy my program or get more of that. It doesn't always work that way. A lot of the beliefs and emotions you may be feeling at this level is you might be stuck in this idea that everything needs to be perfect. You might be stuck in this idea of perfectionism, and that actually stops you from evolvement. That stops you from testing and tweaking and trying and seeing what works. The thing that you probably haven't realized yet is that not every single piece of your content needs to be amazing. And I think a lot of us get stuck in this idea of like, I need the perfect video. It needs to have this perfect thing. One video is going to change everything for me. And it's not. Remember, messaging is an ecosystem. We need content that will bring people into our ecosystem, and then they can experience more content, more things, more elements, more connection, more thought reversals, more what to do. And then there's an experience that happens once they're in our ecosystem. There's never one single video that's going to change your messaging. Messaging is not one video, it's not one script, it's not one webinar, it's everything. And it's an experience of everything over time. And you have most people haven't realized that, which means you get into perfectionism, which means that you want the video to be perfect because you think one perfect video will change the game, and it just doesn't. And you're also afraid that if the video isn't perfect, people aren't going to come in. People are going to leave. But let me ask you, like, look at the person that you followed for the last, let's just call it 2 months or longer. Tell me their content. Like, give me a specific piece of their content. What was the title? What did they talk about? I'm willing to bet you can probably only come up with 1, 2, or 3 pieces of content, but they probably post every day or close to it, which means over the last 2 months, they've posted at least 60 pieces of content, but you only remember 1, 2, or 3. Why? Because when a piece of content is good and it hits, that's what you remember. You don't remember every single piece of content, which means your audience isn't going to remember every single one of your pieces of content too, which means you're allowed to put out shitty content. You're allowed to put out content that doesn't do that great because it's going to allow you to learn. It's going to allow you to go, this didn't hit the way I wanted to. How do I adjust it next time? Or you never know what's going to hit and what's not going to hit. Maybe that piece of content that didn't really hit very well with your audience actually hit person A, B, and C over here, and they remembered it. The idea here is perfectionism is literally going to kill your message, and perfectionism is one of the emotions or beliefs that a lot of unheard entrepreneurs get into. They think the script needs to be perfect, the editing needs to be perfect, the background needs to be perfect, the graphic needs to be perfect. They also believe that the more I study and the more I put things together, like the more studious I am inside of Brandon's program, the more times I go through it, the more times I go through the exercises, the more times I script, the better I will get. No, sorry. The more experience or knowing that you have, the better you get. The more data, the more feeling you have. Because here's the thing, you could sit on the perfect piece of content for 3 weeks, put it out there and realize, you know what? I didn't actually like that. On paper, it sounded great, but when I said it out loud, I didn't like it. And now you just wasted 2 weeks. You're also stuck in a fear of haters or what others think, and you're not sure if you're doing it right. Like you keep getting stuck in this idea of, am I doing it right? Because you think you can actually mess it up. There's no messing up when it comes to messaging. Messaging has to be put out. It has to evolve. It has to be learned. It has to be felt. It has to be done and has to be executed on. And so again, your beliefs are things have to be perfect. The more I study and the more I put things together, the better it will be. You're fearful of haters or people not liking what you're going to say, even though it is what you want to say. And then you're actually unsure if you're doing it right. Again, there is no right. There is no wrong. There just is. And in order to perfect your messaging and move out of the unheard entrepreneur phase, you got to snap out of those things. Now, if you are in this phase, you're likely just starting out on your messaging journey. You may be fairly new to the new generation mastery process, even though you have been in business for a while, but you're new to our process. Or you're likely in study mode within our process and not so much in action mode yet. That's generally where you're going to be. Usually people that are unheard entrepreneurs have been in our process for 6 months or less, like inside of our program for 6 months or less. But that is the unheard entrepreneur. Now, in order to fix it, there's a couple things that I would recommend to move to the next level. Number one, even when you do how-to content, stop titling it How to Lose 10 Pounds. Add the word without at the end and then put something common in there. So how to lose 10 pounds without dieting. Like just without dieting already is gonna make you a little bit more unique than everyone else. So add the word without and then put a common phrase or way or method in there. That's one simple way. But just by changing the titles around to incorporate identity, to incorporate beliefs. Like for example, the one I always use is if I was a father, and which I am, and an entrepreneur, which I am, and I had a course or a membership for father entrepreneurs, I could put out a piece of content that says, do fathers make the best entrepreneurs, ? Like that's gonna grab the attention and eyeballs of father entrepreneurs. It's curiosity driven. And then I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. I can go into a tutorial if I wanted to. But the idea is just to simply start changing out the topics and the titles and not be so focused on educational content that just plainly shows our expertise. We need eyeballs on us. That's the first step of breaking out of the Unheard Entrepreneur. So give it a try. That is level 1. That's what level 1 is all about. That's what you need to start doing to changing it. You need to get out of your fear. You need to understand that perfectionism is just a thing that's going to stop you. There is no right or wrong. The fear of haters is actually necessary. Haters are necessary. They are a clear sign that your messaging is working, because messaging shouldn't just attract the right people. It should repel the wrong people as well. So when you have those haters and stuff, that's actually a great sign that your messaging is working. So you need to get out of that. And then also you need to start just adjusting your titles. So again, we're mixing that masculine and feminine energy. The things to do now is change titles. The invisible work, the feminine energy, get out of the fears, get out of perfectionism. Understanding evolvement needs to happen. And that is level 1. So we will be releasing what is level number 2 and how to break out of it in our next episode. That will be all about the scene entrepreneur. So if you found yourself at level number 1, you got some work to do, and stay tuned for the next episode where we're going to talk all about how to move into level number 2 and how to move out of level number 2, which is the scene entrepreneur. So I'll see you there. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.